is 1982 that the Rebbe spoke to the women, as we had last time we had a Sicha that the Rebbe spoke to the women in Tafshin Mem Daled in 1984. This is a Sicha that the Rebbe spoke to the women in 1982, also before Shavuos. The Rebbe says, since the gathering is taking place during the days of Sefirah, moving it's understood. First idea that comes to mind in connection with this gathering is the idea of Sefirah. According to the story that Chachamim relate in the Torah Shabbat Peh, to explain the reason for this mitzvah as follows. It says Yisrael in Mitzrayim, when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, that is essentially the time when the Jewish nation was born. It's related at length in the prophecy of Yecheskel, that going out of Mitzrayim was likened to a child's birth. Like it's also related in Haggadah, to extract and to take out a nation from within a nation. Just like a child is taken out of the mother, so too the Jewish people were born as if from being taken out of the of Mitzrayim. At that time, when the Yidden were born, Yidden knew that the purpose and goal of this nation and the purpose of its freedom and being released from the exile of Mitzrayim, Hashem, is to receive the Torah of Hashem. Because, like it says, by Mitzrayim, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, when you take out this nation from Mitzrayim, you will serve Hashem on this mountain. Therefore, immediately on the morrow of them going out of Mitzrayim, they began to count with yearning and desire to the days until they will reach the giving of the Torah. When one day passed from their leaving from Mitzrayim, they became one day closer to receiving the Torah. So too in the second day of the going out of Mitzrayim, until they reached the day right before the receiving of the Torah, which took place on the Yom Tov of Shavuos. In other words, mitzvah, this mitzvah of Sefirah Omer, it's an expression of the powerful yearning and desire and the great thirst of the Jewish people that they had for receiving the Torah. Corresponding to this explanation, will be understood something that necessitates explanation. Why is the language of Sefirah that we say today is 2 days to the Omer, today is 3 days to the Omer? The very day that we're counting is not 2 days, it's not 3 days. We're only counting 1 day. But rather, it is rather the second or the third day that we are counting. Therefore, the appropriate language for Sefirah should have been, today is the second day of the Omer, today is the third day of the Omer, and so on. According to the above mentioned explanation, this will be understood. If the purpose of counting was just for the sake of counting itself, to be able to keep account of where we're holding, what day we're at. So then the appropriate expression would have been the second day, the third day, the 50th day, or the 49th day, whatever. Avokan Hasfira, he says, Batul Shel Regesh Hagaguim. But over here, the counting is an expression of a feeling of yearning and missing something and desiring something. Regesh them is bate, and that feeling expresses itself. When we say that 2 days will pass, 3 days have passed. This feeling of yearning for something is expressed better when we include all the days that already passed. So that was then. And the Rebbe goes on and says this is something that occurs every year. Just like this event took place when the Yidden left Egypt. So too, the matter repeats itself annually every single year in the Neshama of a Yid. The Neshama is beyond the definitions and the categories of time and place. And in it, one observes how it's a godly soul by acting in accordance in a way that's appropriate for a godly spark and a part of Hashem. Since the nefesh is beyond the category of time, therefore, the neshama, which is not limited to time, it is capable of reliving anew every single year as the very same event that occurred after years ago. This means they could relive as a gagoyim ma'azim lakabel as hatoyim misinai, the great yearning, the powerful yearning that they had then 3,000 plus years ago. They can relive now as well, that they had this yearning for receiving the Torah on Har Sinai. Hadover mekabel mishnah toikev b'mikra shalom. This gets even more power in our occurrence, in other words, in our gathering at this time. Because we're already very close to the date of the receiving of the Torah. We're already in the 6th week of the 7 weeks that we are counting. And this missing it and yearning for it and desiring it is increasing and getting deeper and deeper day after day. Though one might think, or it might seem, that there's no benefit in reliving this or experiencing this type of yearning for the receiving of the Torah. This will and missing Hashem will not, and missing the Torah and yearning for the Torah will not in any way benefit to bring closer a time of receiving of the Torah. The receiving of the Torah will be after the 49 days of counting. It will be on the 50th day regardless. So what benefit is there to count? Kol Matan still and all. And here's where the idea of Simcha comes in. The benefit is in the manner and the form that receiving the Torah will take place. For the receiving of the Torah on day 50 to be in the utmost best way possible, the 49 days of counting and yearning for receiving of the Torah is necessary to precede it. There's no comparison to accepting or receiving the Torah without a will and without yearning and missing it, to how we accept the Torah after missing and yearning for it. And that by yearning for the Torah, desiring the receiving of the Torah, and having all this build up day after day, week after week, so this brings about this brings about that the receiving and acceptance of the Torah will be with the appropriate passion and vitality and energy and strength and joy, as the Rebbe will soon conclude. In addition to this, according to the rule, like the Buddhas reflect the face back to the face, so to the heart of man is to man. So therefore, our way of yearning for the Torah and accepting the Torah in a better fashion will ensure that the Torah will be given to us in a better fashion. Moving, it's understood. When the receiving and accepting of the Torah is in a specific and elevated state, because it came after much yearning and desire, so then the giving of the Torah is in a much more elevated way and a much more unique way, because everything is reflected back according to how we invested in it, so too we receive in return. So too it's understood from the difference between how Moshe Rabbeinu accepts and receives the Torah, to the acceptance and the receiving of the Torah of the Jewish people. Though the Torah is the same Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu and the rest of the Jewish people received the identical Torah. Still in all, it's not alike the hoping and the passion and the vitality of Moshe Rabbeinu to receive the Torah than the vitality of the Jewish people. And just like then, there was a difference between if we are going to the Torah in a passionate manner, so too now. Just like this difference and distinction existed in that generation when they actually received the Torah in Har Sinai, so too it's in every single generation until this generation. The form that the receiving of the Torah takes is dependent upon the manner how much we hope and look forward and want to receive. The more the yearning and the hoping to receive the Torah are deeper and broader and greater, so too the receiving of the Torah will be deeper and more engraved in the neshama of a yid. And through being engraved in the neshama of a yid, and through being deep in the neshama of a yid, this will also become deeply ingrained in the body of a yid. On that special day is Matan Torah, saying the time of the giving of the Torah, Chag HaShavuos, the Yom Tov of Shavuos. Ulas Matan Torah ba'am Yisrael is dalet. The effect of the giving of the Torah in the Jewish people. Hatluya ka'amur ba'ifn hatzfiya va'yislav Yisrael kabbalas haTorah. This dependent, like we said before, in how we hope for and our excitement to receive the Torah. So the effect is you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So it's a merit. This means to say, Shakal Yehudi, every Jew, whether he is actually a Kohen or he's a Levi, which is at least from the same Shevet and tribe like the Kohen, or Yisrael, or even he's from the rest of the tribes, or not even from the tribes, it could be a Geir and so on. Through coming to the mountain of Sinai and accepting and receiving the Torah, he received the description that he is a kingdom of priests. Since Torah is boundless and endless, moving it's understood, though thousands of years have already passed since the Torah was given. This means to say, that it affected the Jewish people. The above mentioned effect so many times until the Yom Tov Shavuos of the last year. In other words, all Every single year this happened until just a year ago. Chalzai still in all, since it's endless, there's no end to the content that's concealed in it, and to its depth. And it moves so it's understood. That in this year there's still much to look forward to and to yearn and to desire. Through the appropriate hopefulness and yearning and the appropriate preparation. That it should be that if you toil, you will find. That the effect of the giving of the Torah in this year will be in an incomparable way the effect of Matan Torah over its effect that it had in previous years. The most appropriate expression of the hopefulness and the appropriately looking forward to receiving of the Torah, who can move and is like it's understood. How do we most express our yearning for the receiving of the Torah? When prior to receiving the Torah, we're acting in a manner that Torah directs us to act, and not just that we're just doing it by rote. The way how we fulfilling the words of Torah is with passion and excitement, in such a way that every day the Torah seems new to you. This brings up to the state that the new receiving of the Torah will be out of an exalted spirit, and total devotion, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, to fulfill all the words of the Torah that will be received. And here we're going to get back to the idea of joy. This is not in such a manner of a heavy yoke. Like his way is, only requests and asks of us according to their power and capability. This means before Hashem comes to ask and demand the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs. He gives the power and capability within each and every one, man and woman, fulfill everything that is incumbent upon them. And he gives them the capability to fulfill all of his good resolutions in his daily life, and even more so. It's not a yoke, it's not a difficulty, it's not a hardship, but this devotion and this experience of Matan Torah and the preparation for Matan Torah is being fulfilled in a way of joy and gladness of heart. This idea expressed itself in the phrase of my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, he used to wish people before Shavuos that the accepting of the Torah should be both with joy and internalized. The accepting of the Torah should not be felt like it's a burden, heaven forbid, or it should be out of joy. And how does that joy expressed? First of all, like we said, all the counting, and secondly, because we are acting in accordance with the Torah already prior to the receiving of the Torah. Along with that, this is internalized. Sometimes we can have an idea of joy. People are jumping and dancing, whatever. But what's going on inside? Inside, It didn't touch them. They're dancing outside. So we're saying no. It's serious inside, meaning it's real. With all the internal seriousness and resoluteness and sincerity and the passion and the strength that's concealed in the neshama of a yid, and especially in his inner part of his soul. Now, getting back to what we were speaking about before, that by Matan Torah we were designated as a kingdom of priests. So the Rebbe is going to explain this as in our service, and especially the Rebbe is going to bring this down to earth in especially the lives of Jewish women. Kol Torah anitin b'Torah, every description that's given in the Torah, Torah's emes, which Torah is the Torah of truth. Moving, it's understood. Shu meduyik u'mechuvan b'chol prata. It is exact in all of its detail. Kach kama Torah mamlechas kohanim, so to the description that we are called a kingdom of priests. That Hashem crowned the Yidden with this title during the receiving of the Torah. Is an exact description of what we are. So the Rebbe asks a very obvious question. And according to this, we need to understand. When we speak and we describe someone that is a Kohen, what is the meaning of it? He's not a Kohen. The Kohen description is not certain times. The person that's a Kohen is a Kohen every moment and at all times. When he's eating, he's drinking, and when he's sleeping. If so, how is it possible to call every single Jew in every time and every moment with the description Kohen? The meaning of Kohen, it's explained by Rashi or Chumash, is a servant. His mission and job in life is to stand in service before Hashem. So therefore, the question is as follows. This makes sense when the Jew is serving his God in his davening and in his learning and fulfillment of mitzvahs. So then the description of Kohen is appropriate. But when he's eating or sleeping, that's a big problem. But mem is bate, how does it express yichuda, his uniqueness? Despite that, still in all we see, despite the fact that we are not seemingly in a state of service 24/7, God, who's the God of truth, said, every Yid is associated to the kingdom of priests. So it's a meres, this means to say, Shekol Yehudi, every Jew. If he only resolves and decides that he wants to be a Kohen, and he accepts upon himself to be a Kohen, he has the capability to change even the form of his eating. He's eating in a totally different form than the manner of eating of someone who's not a Kohen. The Kolshkin, how much more so his manner of eating is different than someone that's not Jewish. The explanation this is, what is this change? And what is this feeling of Kohenhood, even when I'm doing mundane matters? When a Jew eats in a different manner than those around me, not just by the fact that he makes a bracha before eating and he makes a bracha after eating. Also, it's different in the following. Even during eating, he feels. With the help of Hashem, it's a true feeling. He's not fooling himself. But he really feels by eating, He is serving Hashem like he serves Hashem when he's doing other mitzvahs. What does that mean? V'zois, how is this so? During eating, he sees and feels feels during, and he sees and he feels during eating that what's the primary reason why he's eating? Because he wants to have a living soul and a living body. And why does he want that? So he should be able to fulfill what's written in the Torah of life that's given to us from the God of life. So he needs to be alive to be able to fulfill the Torah of life from the life of God, or from the living God. So too when it comes to sleeping. Before going to sleep, a Jew decides and resolves that his sleep is not only so he shouldn't be tired. It's also to fulfill what Hashem commanded us, that you shall guard yourselves very well for your life. To be careful with the health of his soul and his body. This means that the body was given in the possession of a Jew and for safekeeping. A precious object for safekeeping. That it's incumbent upon the Jew to guard it. Be a goof body, that should be a healthy body. Why does he need to protect it, that the body should be healthy? Because the body is considered Hashem's possession. That was given in the hands of a Yid. So he should be able to serve through the body, and with the body is God in a better way, and a more elevated way, than what the soul is serving Hashem before it descended below. Just to give a silly example, a person was working the whole time for the home office. Then they needed him to go ahead and visit different branches and so on. So they gave him the company car. So he should be able to accomplish more. So the company car is not there for his own enjoyment or pleasure, and it's not there to do with as he wishes, and he's not there to ruin the company car. The company car is meant for him to be able to accomplish things that he wouldn't be able to accomplish if he wouldn't have had that car. The same thing, the body is like the company car. Hashem gives us the body so we should be able to accomplish things that otherwise, when the neshama did not have the body, when he was in Gan Eden, for example, he wouldn't be able to accomplish. So that's why this is Hashem's car, this is Hashem's body. We need to be very careful. And then every single moment that he's asleep, he's called a Kohen and a servant. He calls his entire sleeping is in a way of serving Hashem. Tell us, I'll call Yehudi b'liyotzim aklal. This avoid is incumbent for every Jew, without exception. The entire Jewish people was present during the receiving of the Torah at Har Sinai. Like our sages explained in the oral Torah, all the souls, including our generation, were present during the receiving of the Torah. And we accepted the Torah for all generations and all times. Including also for that time, when the neshama descends thousands of years after Matan Torah within a body, already then is prepared to be a part of the nation of priests. In other words, my neshama that was present over 3,000 years ago by Matan Torah accepted upon itself and was ready and prepared to be a mamlechas kohanim when the time will come when it will go down the body. And now that finally, after thousands of years, it entered into the body, so now it's already prepared and prepped, so it should be able to fulfill this mission of being a mamlechas kohen. The Rebbe goes on and says, on the other hand, moving ma'atzma, self-understood, ain't to avoid the klal. It's not an easy service. Lias tamid b'chinas kohen, to always be in a state of kohen, always to be on call, like a doctor. We're like a doctor that's like no night and no day. We're always on call. To be constantly permeated every moment and every hour in this idea, that all of his actions and his entire being, he's serving Hashem. Especially since there are certain matters that demand, according to Torah, attention and serious focus to be able to do it in the appropriate way. To such a degree that person needs to devote his entire heart and his entire mind and his entire energy when he's doing these things the way Torah tells him to do it. So at the very same time that he's involved in worldly things with his entire focus, because Torah wants him to be focused on. And at that very same time, he has to have split his mind and keep in mind that this is all a service of Hashem. So then it's sevenfold more difficult. Those things that Torah says you need to pay attention to. That he has to be permeated with the thought that this is only the service of Hashem. And according to the difficulty of this service, that is how great it is. And now the Rebbe is going to say how much more so this is by Jewish women, that women also are considered koyanim in this regard. And by her, it's actually more difficult, but more rewarding and more elevating. It says in his test, here we come to the special lesson from all of this to Jewish women and daughters. If the above mentioned matter is difficult for a man to do, to juggle in his mind those things that he needs to put the full focus in, and at the same time realize that those things are only part of his service to Hashem, he's a kohen. This is how much more so difficult for a Jewish woman. Albas Yisrael Motels Kiyadua Achrayis Hatzuma, and the Jewish daughter, it's incumbent upon her the great responsibility. Yachad Imaschus Hatzuma, along with the great merit and privilege, Lenahel or Lahachzik Abayis HaYehudi, to run and to keep up the Jewish home. Hadvarim Amurim B'Yach Shlish V'Nesuya. This we're talking about a married woman. So too concerning an unmarried woman of Afil Yilodis Ktanis, even young girls, because all Jewish girls know the Fachas Benishmasan, at least in their soul, the job that they are preparing themselves for is to be the mainstay of the home. So that the home should be a true home with all that this involves. It needs to have beautiful vessels, B'lashon Chazal, and the expression Chazal. What does it mean, vessels over here? Vessels do not mean just cups and plates, but kalim in the broad sense. When Chazal used the word kalim, furniture that's clean, mikol shemesh shel iyahadus, from any type of smidgen of non-Jewish matters. This home has to run in such a manner, not just clean of anything un-Jewish, but should be clean in the literal, simple sense. And they should be able to study Torah, and they should be able to bench and thank Hashem and to make a bracha for Hashem. Like it's explained in Shulchan Aruch, a person can only make a blessing in a place that's clean. If there is filth, that it's disrespectful to speak to Hashem, to thank Hashem. Yotzei Eifik comes out. Shala Isha Mutelas, that the woman has the responsibility that the house should be physically clean. Davar hadoirish mama, something that the man's effort will be ikra. Davar hadoirish simaslev. It involves attention, ichpatius, and involves caring and being concerned about it. Shabayis naki, that the house should be clean. Ubefrat, and this becomes an even greater challenge. When Hashem benches the family with children. When the children are in an early age, when they are babies, there needs special effort to keep the house clean. I guess teenagers are same problem sometimes. In addition to this, the woman's job is also to be concerned to the kosher status of food and drink. Therefore, she needs to be immersed in this topic. This care of making sure that the food is kosher, involves special effort. Live the tamid as a hechsher, to constantly check the kosher sign. Is there a kosher symbol? And sometimes you got to also determine who gave the kosher symbol. As a hechsher, and who gave the kosher symbol. Believe it or not, I don't know if everybody heard about this, but there are actually fake kosher symbols that are coming out of China, where they invented kosher symbols where there's no copyright problem, and it looks like some type of kosher symbol. You really got to make sure if there's a kosher symbol on it and it says kosher certified, whatever, who's the one that said that it's kosher? And then there's another issue. Even if when it was bought from the store, it was kosher, who knows what happened in between? Maybe in this food or drink, something not kosher got into it. So that is another effort that occupies her attention and her mind. So to concerning the holy mission that Hashem placed on every Jewish woman, that she is the mother of children. The job of the Jewish woman is to raise her sons and daughters from the moment of birth. And again, this involves attention and focus and mind space. This also demands that she should be invested and immersed in education with all her heart and with all her soul. That part of this education that she has to be involved in actually involves simple things. To make sure that children are clean. She has to worry about their clothing. She has to be concerned about their physical health. Once she has dealt with the physical needs, so then the spiritual education comes. It also demands that the mother should be invested in finding an appropriate kindergarten for them, etc. All of these matters are dependent on a great measure in the individual health of the particular child. Not every child needs to have the same type of concern and attention on every single factor. You need to know what this child needs, what type of kindergarten they need, what type of situation with their clothing they need, and so on. And his unique way how this child is acting, and according to his character. Therefore, one needs to relate to it with the entire focus and entire sincerity and seriousness, to be able to make sure that everything is appropriate for each child individually according to their needs. There's no cookie cutter shortcuts. To be able to accomplish all the above matters in the best way possible. There's a need for a woman to be involved in physical matters, dvarim pshutim, seemingly mundane, ordinary matters. They are seemingly disconnected at all with the service of Hashem. And here the Rebbe is going to say an amazing thing. You think you're changing diapers. You think you're cooking food. And what does all of this have to do with serving Hashem? So the Rebbe is saying you're changing the diapers, you're washing the kids, you're finding them the appropriate clothes. All these things are serving Hashem. Despite the fact that it seems to be unrelated to serving Hashem, Hashem designated every single man and woman in the Jewish nation, B'toyer Mamlechas Kohanim, with the description of a kingdom of priests. Because along with the fact that for every Jewish woman, there's incumbent the above mentioned mission, and with all seriousness and the most perfect way, she needs to be permeated with the thought that when I'm putting the food on a table, when I'm slaving over a hot stove, etc., this is a service of Hashem. Even when she's checking the windows in the house to see, make sure that they're closed in the winter. There's no draft coming in that will, heaven forbid, harm the health of a child. Or whether she's involved in cooking and baking. When she's concerned, that all the food should be properly cooked. So it should be beneficial for the child that's eating it. If it's not properly cooked, it causes stomachache. So then, that's a service of Hashem. So it's a matter, this means to say, at the time that she's involved in all these matters, they seem like insignificant items. Matters that have no connection whatsoever with the service of Hashem. At the time, it's necessary for her to think. Also, this is part of the education, the raising of children that Hashem placed upon her. Therefore, she has to have this feeling that permeates her, that this taking care of the child, the checking the windows for drafts and so on, this is also a service of Hashem. Now the Rebbe says, don't misinterpret the word gam over here. Not just also, not just second place. It's not just also a service of Hashem, but in such a way that it's something that's called ancillary and auxiliary. That is the core of the service of Hashem. To raise up, and to found, and to build up houses and families and households among the Jewish people. That those households should be permeated with the idea that every Jewish home is a sanctuary for Hashem. To such a degree, it's a sanctuary. Just like the general Beis Hamikdash Yerushalayim, Beis Hamikdash Chol Am Yisrael, that it's a sanctuary for the whole Am Yisrael. The Jewish woman's job is to build up houses that are miniature sanctuaries. This responsibility, to be concerned that the home should be like the Beis Hamikdash, mutelas beikar ala keres habayis, is primarily incumbent upon the mainstay of the home, ikar habayis, because she's the main part of the home. and she has to be concerned that the home should be a Beis Hamikdash, Yachad and Kelev, along with its vessels, the heat of its furniture, and everything that's in it. The Kolshkim, how much more so that the household should be a holy household, and surely the children in the home should be permeated with this idea of being a Beis Hamikdash. And Hadavar Bala de Bitui Beuvda, this matter comes in expression in the fact Shemiyad Kasher Yelad Yehudi Noilad, immediately when a Jewish child is born. Mechanchem Oisik Kvar Menarega Rishon, we educate already from the first moment the pasuk Shema Yisrael with the pasuk Shema Yisrael, Bisharin Yonu Psukim and other ideas and other psukim. Keminig Yisrael Litlois Al Yad Mitas Ledas Psukim Shoinim, like the custom of Yidden is to hang next to and over the bed of a woman who gave birth different psukim. What's the purpose of those psukim hanging there? Hamaskirim Kvar Ozli Yela, that are already then making the child remember and recognize. Though just this moment he was born. And it's also to remind the mother, the one who just gave birth, that they are associated with and they are part of the kingdom of priests, because they are a holy nation. A nation that is separated in its holiness and sanctity, all the nations of the earth. Just like this preparation for the receiving of the Torah the first time around, by the counting of the Omer, brought about the receiving of the Torah then, though it was very difficult at that time. It was only a short time since they left Mitzrayim. And Mitzrayim was Ervas Aretz, the most immoral place in the earth. So too this repeats itself every single year. Even more so, we have it easier. We merited to live in such a generation. It's thousands of years after receiving the Torah. When every single year, every year we have new excitement, new passion, new strength, new joy in receiving the Torah. It's clear that by us preparations for Shavuos are easier. By days on through this we could be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, in a much higher and elevated way than previous years. Like we said before, this is the high avodah and the holy avodah, the yachadim zois, and along with this, avodah hakashal, that seemingly seems to be a difficult avodah. Still in all, Shakadosh Baruch Hu Noisnu Kol Echad VaAchas Sakoyach Levatza V'Tech Simcha V'Tuv Levav. Hashem gives each and every one of us, man and woman, the capability to accomplish this out of joy and gladness of heart. Stop over here.